26-year-old Laci Peterson, 8 months pregnant, vanishing while her husband was gone for the day on a fishing trip.
He married America's sweetheart.
They're just perfect together. Why would a beautiful pregnant wife suddenly go missing?
This was a legitimate, big national obsession.
Everybody liked Laci.
There's no leads.
Your pregnant wife is missing. And Scott is cool as a cucumber.
Laci's family didn't suspect him. They had no reason.
Was there any sign of trouble in the marriage?
The guy I know loved his wife very much.
Hey, beautiful. I'll see you in a bit, sweetie. Love you.
Makes us wonder if he's been truthful about everything else. Scott needs to come forward and answer the questions that are put to him. Was there someone else?
Scott told me he was not married. We did have a romantic relationship.
Did you have any idea that your son was seeing another woman?
Men have affairs.
When their wives are 8.5 months pregnant?
They have not eliminated Scott Peterson from this investigation.
Scott Peterson no longer wanted to be in a marriage. He wanted to be free. Did you murder your wife?
What an intro. Yeah, that's deep and winding and dark and nasty.
It'll twisting you around turns. And
what a nasty son of a bitch he is.
Oh, yeah, he is.
The Scott Peterson murder trial.
Whew.
The murder of Laci Peterson. That's Laci with an I, so that makes her that much better.
I know.
R.I.P., baby. She was pretty, too.
Mm-hmm.
God, what a fucking dickhead. You know what? If you have never listened to the Brohio podcast before, I'm one of your hosts, the delicious Nicolicious. Some people also call me Bill Wilkins. And if you're listening and you want to join our closed group on Facebook, that's the password, Bill Wilkins.
Oh,
he died in his own shit.
He did.
What's your name, buddy?
My name's Rob. Yeah, I'm here with Nick as always.
Nick and Rob. It's late. It's 10:30 on 10:45 on
Eastern Standard.
Father's Day.
Yeah, we had to push it back a little bit. Both had pretty busy days, busy weekends.
Happy Father's Day, Rob.
Happy Father's Day, Nick. It's
you and I are two of the worst people I know in the entire world, but we are good fucking dads.
Hey, we got to get something right.
Right. Well, can't just be good at jerking off. Can't just be good at jacking off and stuff.
I'm pretty good at that.
I keep on seeing this meme going around to this guy that says I like to jerk off and then let it dry on me, then peel it off and crumble it up, let people snort it at parties and shit. I know a guy in high school that would actually let the stuff dry on his stomach the night before, and he would pick it off and throw it in people's hair. And I looked at this motherfucker, and I said, listen, I wasn't really good friends with him.
I'd hope not.
And, I mean, I had to look in the mirror when I looked at him, but I said, if you ever fucking throw anything like that on me, I will take you outside, and I will fucking make out with you, because that is so fucking hot. And I'm really into stuff like that. You thought I was going to go another way.
I like it.
You silly son of a bitch.
Oh, that was a good little U-turn there.
If you've never listened to us, we're terrible. We're horrible.
If you can't tell.
Yeah, we've got a really poor sense of humor. We don't laugh at a lot of stuff.
We're pretty immature.
We don't know what the line is.
Nah.
If there is a line, we've crossed it.
Yeah, probably a couple times.
We get a lot of reviews that say, these guys are fucking nasty. Don't waste your time. But almost 800 people worldwide in iTunes have said, these guys are good. So go leave us a review on iTunes. That'll be great. That'll help us out.
We strive for mediocrity. So, I mean, if we do have a good episode, then hey,
we do.
We even exceed our own expectations.
And we have some Patreon subscribers. And thanks to our Patreon subscribers.
Thank you.
We bought Rob his own computer for this side of the studio.
Yeah, we're starting to look legit in here, man.
He doesn't have to drag his laptop along anymore.
No, it's nice.
It's got a fancy desktop. I bought it refurbished on eBay. It came in, it didn't fucking work. I put the delicious Nicolicious hands on it, got it working. We're ready to go.
Them hands will work wonders.
You don't know anything about these hands, Rob. I soak them in buttermilk every night, so that way, you know, I roll out the bed in the morning and I say, I got the softest motherfucking hands you ever felt. Cemetery Terry.
Oh, Cemetery Terry.
Now, we would like to say thank you to our Patreons.
Thank you.
At patreon.com/BroHioPodcast. Christian Calderon. That sounds really hot. That's a really hot last name.
I do like that. Next, we got Mr. David Fallgreen. Thank you, sir.
And the next one, he's very special to me. This is Matt Steelwell. Matthew was my supervisor at work, a couple years ago. One of the best dudes I've ever met in my entire life. He was in the Army. Matt, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
He's one of those guys just will roll with you till the fire is still burning, walk through it with you. Great fucking guy.
Thank you very much. Next, we got Trey Garrow or Garrow.
Garrow. Gay arrow.
I
wish somebody hit me with a gay arrow.
I think you have been hit.
Okay.
Katie! That's how it works.
Katie Moreland. Thank you so much, Katie. We are genuinely appreciative of your support.
Stephanie Syria.
Justin Young. Thank you, Justin.
And Dakota Curtis.
Dakota, you mean so much to us.
Thank you guys very much for being patrons of ours.
We love all of you.
Especially Matt Stillwell.
Yes. If you would like to be a supporter of the Brohio Podcast, like I said, go to patreon.com/Brohio Podcast. The $5 club, you get some stickers, and you unlock our premium show, Bro Talk, where we just call each other up and we shoot the shit. We talk about...
We've had some fun episodes the past couple ones.
Past episode, we asked one another if we remembered the positions we used when we got our wives pregnant. Rob said, I have no fucking idea. I said, let me tell you about it real quick, baby boy. And you can go to that episode. It's called Midweek Mayhem. Go check it out. There's all kinds of fun stuff to be heard in there. And Rob, I got a newspaper article for you, just like I do every week.
Lay it on me, Daddy.
A rabid bob kitty. This is about a bobcat.
Here we go.
And if you've never listened to the Brohio Podcast before, we like to talk about bob kitties, shitty kitties, bad kitties, good kitties. We love kitties here at the Brohio Podcast.
Yeah, we do.
A rabid bobcat had recently attacked the Hart County grandmother in her yard, spurring a furious battle that ended with the cat's strangulation death. I thought, not today. There was no way I was going to die, Dee Dee Phillips said Thursday as she recalled the attack that occurred June 7th at her home off Liberty Church Road. I'm very lucky, the 46-year-old woman said.
She's so angry.
She got attacked by a goddamn bob kitty. The unprovoked attack occurred about 6 p.m. She had been working on her truck that afternoon.
Of course she has.
Posted a bumper sticker that read, Women who behave rarely make history.
Oh, God.
She planned to photograph the sticker and send it to her husband. Hey, baby, I got this goddamn bumper sticker on here. I'm going to send you a picture of my ball sack here, too, real quick, if you want some of that. She walked out of the house with her cell phone. My neighbor's dog was barking and it drew my attention, she said. I saw the cat and I took a picture. The cat took 2 steps and was on top of me.
Giggity.
It came from my face.
Giggity, giggity.
I'm not ad-libbing. I'm fucking reading this shit, okay? Phillips grew up in the country where her father-in-law was once a trapper of bob kitties. As a result, she knew something about the animal's behavior. They go for your jugular, because when they can get the vein, you're dead in a couple of minutes, she said. The bobcat did go for her upper body. It caught me slightly on my face, but I got him before he could do much damage there, she said. I took it straight to the ground and started inching my hands up to its throat. I knew that was the only way I was going to get out of this. With both hands around the bobcat's neck, she began squeezing. You just squeezed that pussy, baby, but she never shouted for help because her 5-year-old granddaughter was in the house. I was scared if I screamed for that help that my granddaughter would come out, and I didn't want that to happen, she said.
What a badass.
That's a bad motherfucking grandma right there.
Bad lady. Oh, man.
Grandma, can I have a peanut butter sandwich? You can bring your ass out here and cook it your fucking self.
Women who behave rarely make history. I like that.
That's so true.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, it's a bad. And if you are listening to the Brohio Podcast, if you are the woman that if you are Dee Dee Phillips, we would love to speak with you. I'm going to reach out to her on Facebook, see if I can find her.
We got to find her.
You know she has a Facebook. She just sits up all day playing fucking Farmville, asking for requests like, oh, I'm out of hay. Send me.
Slamming cigarettes.
Yeah, Slingo. Just anytime she doesn't get her fucking money from, what is that? What's that bubble popping game? Candy Crush?
Candy Crush.
I'll give my Candy Crush lives. I'm going to burn this motherfucker down. Rob, all right. We need to stop and save.
All right.
We saved. We're good.
That was scary.
We talk about Dee Dee Phillips killing Bob Kitties with her bare goddamn hands.
She that bad bitch.
I'm staring across the laundry room here. My cat was just licking her crotch, but now she's standing back upright.
Now she's licking mine.
We always talk about my cat. I think we need to show a picture of my cat to the world so they can just see what a majestic creature she is.
She's my friend.
Yeah. She just rubs up on you. She whips it out there. You don't even have to do anything to get her to pull it out. She just does. And that's how a kitty should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we are talking about Scott Peterson and Laci Peterson.
Yeah.
So Laci disappeared. She turned up dead. Scott was he went to prison for this. But are we possibly talking about an innocent man, or are we talking about the ultimate fucking scumbag here, Rob?
Who knows? I mean, you're excuse me. Any case like this, I would assume that your husband is going to be the first, always the first suspect. There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
I knew it was an S word.
Yeah, I did too. I just couldn't think of it off the top of my head. So I mean, it makes sense. Look at him, and then especially suspicious as it everything turned out.
Right. Last week we did a true crime episode. What was it? It was Connor's episode.
Jesus.
That was Toy Box Killer.
Yeah, there you go.
And we're doing another true crime episode this week, and I'm going to tell you guys why.
I was going to say, we got to get into the story of why.
So the only thing our wives can hold above our heads is the podcast. They'll say, well, you clean the house? I'm like, no, fuck this shit. Not cleaning the house. Can you do the dishes? Nah, fuck that. Not doing the dishes. But, we help out when we can.
Yeah.
But anytime we upset our wives, they say, you're not doing the fucking podcast this week. Not quite like that. They're not that mean. They're actually really sweet ladies.
Yeah.
Rob's wife is just the nicest lady in the world. My wife,
she is
like she's like Cinderella to everyone in the entire world. But then when it comes to me, fucking Muhammad Ali throwing bombs, she's not afraid to go for the jugular on me.
We know how to test them.
But I really am. And I'll admit this. I'm really good at pushing people's buttons. Like that is my fucking thing.
Oh yeah.
I've got button pushing fingers. All right. So, she got upset last week and she said, you're not doing the fucking podcast. I'm like, oh, fuck. Because I thought she was serious this time. She's like, I'll let you do it under one circumstance. And I said, what's that? And she said, you got to do the Scott Peterson trial for me. I said, I can respect that. I'll do that for you.
We can swing it.
She's really into that. She read the book. She thinks he's completely innocent. We're gonna touch on all that, but we talked about it. She wants to start helping out with more research. So I said, all right, listen, baby. You and me, we ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. Naturally, she didn't do it with me. Other night of her falling asleep and me shaking the bed for about 48 seconds. Smelling
it just
her hair.
Got sad.
Yeah. If you could just do me the favor of using the herbal essence for now on, because that, for me, like when I'm sniffing your hair when I jerk off, that's the fastest way. If you got the herbal essence in your hair. And I got to really watch what I'm saying because my mom listens to every episode now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. I love you.
Hi.
Yeah. And happy birthday to my father. He turns 60 this week, tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
His name is Ashley. He's in the Butt Chuggers Anonymous. That was not a fart. That's me moving my microphone.
We'll announce it if it's a fart.
Yeah. So just getting all perfect. But this story takes place in Modesto, California. That's the West Coast, best coast, if none of you are familiar. Modesto's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I had to look it up on a map, and I said, wow, that's really not fucking close to anything. So if anyone knows anything about California, when it comes to geography and just like facts in general, Rob and I are kind of fucking stupid. So
we really are.
I know Modesto is not far from San Francisco, obviously, because they found her body in the San Francisco Bay, which we'll touch on that later. But and the date in question is Christmas Eve of 2002. And for you people in Canada that don't celebrate Christmas, Christmas Eve is December 24th. Christmas is December 25th. Don't they?
Thanks for laying that out for everybody.
They celebrate Boxing Day. They don't celebrate Christmas. Isn't that right?
I think they just celebrate the opening day for hockey. I think that's their Christmas.
What the fuck is Boxing Day anyways?
I don't know what the fuck that is.
Oh, man. We got some Canadian friends. We'll reach out to them.
Hey.
And the couple we are examining here is Laci and Scott Peterson. I do remember this in the media when I was in high school.
Yep. We would have been what, sophomores?
Yeah, something like that. I got held back 3 times, so it's hard to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
And this is right on the 2003. There might have been Facebook, but it was, had about 6 people. This would have been the forefront of the internet getting huge, I guess.
Yeah.
So this was the attorneys on both sides of this were leaking certain shit to the media, and it was just the media would take it and run with it. And anytime you have something like that, you're going to get a lot of, a public outcry, a lot of people from and you may not believe it or not, but the pressure from the public can sway things like this.
Absolutely.
I think O.J. Simpson, undoubtedly, the public had something, because there is no motherfucking way that guy was found innocent.
Yeah.
But with the racial tensions at the time and the stuff that had come out, the cop, all the racial stuff there, we don't have a choice, because if he is found guilty, this city will explode and they'll fucking tear this place down. So the public can sway certain things. And in this trial, this case here, Laci and Scott, I mean, it seems that he's probably maybe the murderer, but there's no definitive way here.
It makes the most sense. Yeah.
It certainly does. But Laci, she was 8 months pregnant with a little boy they intended to name Connor. And as far as we know, Scott was the father. They were married for almost 5 years before the incident in question took place. They married in 1997. While Scott finished his senior year of college, Laci took a job in nearby Prunedale. What a stupid fucking name for a city.
Prunedale.
How are you from? I'm from Prunedale. You want to see my nuts? You want to see my prune bag? I'm going to start calling my nuts my prune bag. Hey, you kids over there want to see my prune bag? Mom? I'm sorry. And there were... Okay, so he was a dirty dick cheating. Sorry, Rob's trying to hold.
I'm losing it over the prunes.
Yeah.
The prune bag.
Just grab your prune bag and I'll pull you back in here.
It's such a nice descriptive word for it.
Can I come in and use the bathroom? No, I'm in here shaving my prune bag. Oh man.
Okay, I'm good.
Scott was a bit of a piece of shit. Okay, he did have extramarital affairs. This was definitely established during this trial, and I got a fun story about this later on. There were 2 confirmed cases of him being unfaithful to his wife. The belief is that he was slinging the dick everywhere, that he was never faithful to Laci. I got no room for that, man. You gotta
Papa Dick Slinger.
You gotta love the one you're with. That's my saying there. You gotta stay true. Now, for the first couple years of marriage, they were completely against, mostly him, from what I understand. He was against having kids. He had no interest in that shit. And I have friends, I've had friends over the years that are like that, where they get married and they say, all right, we're not going to have kids for 5 years. And then one of them wants to have kids, and that creates a real strain on the relationship when you have one person in the relationship that is ready to make the step of making a life, and then the other person in the relationship saying, no, I'm cool, fam.
Yeah, especially I've had friends that's kind of like the same thing, where they will be with someone, they want kids, and they'll be with someone that never wants kids, and they try to make it work, and it's like, why would you want, if you're that, like, you want a family that bad and you're with someone that doesn't want one that bad, like, how is it going to work?
Yeah. And I'm not casting stones at someone that doesn't want children. It's just not for some people. I have an aunt, I'm not going to say her name, but she never had kids, just kind of never got around to it. But she is the most loving, motherly woman that I have ever been around in my entire life. But she just always said, kids weren't for her, but now she's in her 50s and she's looks like a fucking dime piece still, and plays tennis and runs around, and I think the world of her.
Hey, I get it, man. Kids are a lot of work, and they're a lot of money.
Fucking suck, man.
A lot of money. Yeah, most of the times they do.
They do suck. A lot of money. You can't. But that's Happy Father's Day.
You know it.
Now, they opened a sports bar together, Laci and Scott. They call it the Shack. They call it the Shit Shack. I'm thinking about all the cool stuff you could do at a Shit Shack. And this was, they opened the sports bar before they moved to Modesto. And the thought process was that either Scott's side of the family or Laci's side, I can't remember, gave them all the money for the sports bar to open it. And after all this happened, the family said, absolutely, positively not. We did not give them money to open that. So it makes you wonder where the money came from, because Scott, at that time, he didn't have a lot of money. He was kind of just getting out of college.
But somehow got the money to open it up.
Yeah. Now, Scott would finish college. He would become a shit salesman. And you people are laughing right now, but I'm completely serious. He got his degree in agricultural studies, and he became a fertilizer salesman.
Hello, ma'am. I was just wondering, would you like to buy a bag of my poop? It's top grade poop. I ate a lot of tacos. Had a lot of milk.
Get out here and smell that shit.
Honey, come here.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to buy some. Let me call my husband real quick. Hey,
okay.
Hey, Barry, get down here and smell this shit.
Don't tell him it's really good.
Nacho Belgrande. I waffle stomped it. You know what a waffle stomp is? No, tell me, please. It's when you're up there in the bathroom, you take a big shit right there in the bathtub. You're washing your hair and you say, I'm not going to get out for this shit. You just let the shit roll out. And instead of just leaving the shit in there for the next person, you just stomp it into the drain. That's a waffle stomp. Put a little syrup on it. You got a maple syrup waffle stomp. That's how that works. There's some people that don't know about the waffle stomp, Rob.
It's a good technique.
We got to clue them in.
Yeah, if you got a shit in the shower, there you go.
There's a guy leaving a review right now, says, these guys go on stupid tangents. 1 star. 1 star. So he got his degree in shit. She was a substitute teacher. They say the reports were that he was making around $50,000 to $55,000 a month. Or, yeah, a year. Sorry, not a month.
Ooh, I was going to say, damn.
Straight motherfucking bankroll right there.
It's like, I'm about to start selling my shit.
Yeah. I got a handful of this shit right now.
Right.
Peppers, onions, collard greens, cornbread. He was making about $55,000 a year. And I'm not from California, but I know enough that $55,000 a year in California is not a lot.
Especially if they're that close to San Fran.
If you're that close to San Fran and he had expensive hobbies, he was like I don't have it in my research here, but he was an all-world golfer. He was an incredible golfer, and he got kicked off of the golf team. I guess he did something to somebody's kid. It wasn't overly horrible, but that kid's dad.
Hey, Scott, why are you making my kid smell your bag of shit?
Yeah. He doesn't want the poop. God damn it. How many times are I going to tell you?
It's just so good, and it's good poop, I swear.
Look at the corn right there. You can still see the yellow on the corn. That's bad. That's the old nasty. But he actually played, when he went to college with a golfer named Phil Mickelson, who right now is probably one of the best golfers in the entire world, but he was completely jealous of Phil and had a hard time swallowing the fact that he was not the top dog. But Scott was an incredible golfer. And even up to this time now, he had a lot of expensive hobbies. Whenever it happened where she went missing, he was he was on the water with his fishing boat. So if you're pinching pennies and don't have a lot to spare, the last thing you're going to have is a fucking fishing boat sitting there.
Yeah.
But she was a substitute teacher, not a super amount of money to be made there. I don't think being a substitute, maybe a real teacher, you can make some decent wages there, but
still underpaid. Even normal teachers
the
are
stuff
still
they deal with.
Yeah,
fuck yeah.
Woo. Underappreciated too.
And the people from their past that have been interviewed spoke very highly of both of them, about their character, about the way they handled themselves, about the love that they thought they shared between one another. Maybe the love that Laci had towards him, but he was obviously a knuckle fuck doing all kinds of stupid, nasty shit. But then on Christmas Eve, 2002, that's December 24th for all of our Canadian listeners, this is the day that Laci would go missing. Laci, like we said, at the time of the disappearance, she was 8 months pregnant with a little boy named Connor. They had breakfast that morning together. It was Laci's normal routine to walk their golden retriever, Mackenzie. But that day, Scott ventured out for a fishing trip. Now, this is already a red flag for me. Christmas Eve, and obviously this is, when I think about something like this, I picture myself in Ohio going on a fishing trip because this is Ohio, okay? We are from Ohio.
We are?
Fucking deal with it, okay? I think about it being fucking freezing and the water being horrible, but I guess in California, December might not necessarily be a horrible time to go fishing.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Nonetheless, it's Christmas Eve, and no wife is going to say, okay, just go on a fishing trip on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Just get the fuck out of here.
It does sound like part of a premeditated plan.
You don't make assumptions like that. Now, later that day, a neighbor found the Peterson's dog, Mackenzie, wandering alone in front of the house, and this was at approximately 10:18 a.m., and these times are all very important. So that was at 10:18 a.m. in the morning. The stupid fucking dog.
Damn it, Mackenzie.
Yeah, but it's a golden retriever, so you know it was a good dog.
Yeah.
There's no bad golden retrievers.
There's really not.
They're so fucking awesome.
They're beautiful.
The dog was still wearing his leash, so he was running around the front of the house, and he had a muddy leash on. The neighbor said, I'm going to put this dog back in the yard for the Petersons. That's what he did for him. Now, at that point, besides Scott being with her that morning, the last time anyone had heard from Laci was the night prior. Scott got his hair cut by Laci's half-sister, Amy Roca, who I had a terrible time trying to find on Facebook. Couldn't find her on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And she'd also talked to her mother the night before. Now, Amy, there was some testimony that I read the transcripts for, and all signs for her pointed to Scott being the perfect husband. There was never any public displays of animosity. There was never any fights. There was just nothing that ever screamed, hey, this relationship's possibly a little bit fucked up. There was never any problems that she thought that she saw.
Okay.
And then, like I said before, Laci talked to her mom the night before on the telephone. And you can hear her mom in the beginning of the episode during that news clip. When Scott left to go fishing, he stopped at the warehouse that he worked at, and he stopped in specifically to check and return emails, and that's also where he stored his boat. And it was time-stamped with these emails. I guess there was I don't know if he clocked in, but the police were able to confirm where he was at and what he was doing at the exact times that he said that he was doing them. So that's the strange thing about this case. There's never any times where they say, hey, where were you at this time? And he just doesn't have an answer. There are some other things that he's not sure about that we'll get to later. But as far as his whereabouts,
so he's completely accounted for.
Yeah, he's got
time-wise.
He's almost got a fucking concrete alibi here. He's not anywhere he shouldn't be, and he's not anywhere that would. I don't know. It all comes together at the end, but like I said, he had alibis for where he was at and what he was doing. After about 90 minutes of fishing, that's another thing. That's another red flag for me. Scott said he returned his boat to the warehouse and went home to an empty house and showered. He cleaned and he poked around the house. Some reports said he washed his clothes. He ate some cold pizza. That's so funny.
The struggle.
Yeah. Oh, I want to warm it up, or I just want to eat. I'm going to lay down. I'm going to jerk off first, and I'm going to circle back. He had some cold pizza. He cleaned up the kitchen, and he took a shower. When at roughly 5:20 p.m., he called Sharon, which is Laci's mother, to ask if Laci was with her. When Sharon replied that she was not there, he said, Laci's missing. That's what he said. Laci's missing.
Okay.
So at 6:00, Laci's parents finally called the police, and there was a full-scale search launch. Now, the hang-up for me here, of all the places she could possibly be, the night, it's Christmas Eve, okay? There's a lot of different things going on.
Mm-hmm.
But by 5:00, I would assume most places are starting to close. People are starting to go to see their families and do their festivities for the night. But his immediate response was, Laci's missing. And now, for him to already have it made up in his mind that, okay, she's missing.
Yeah. Not that I can't find her. I wonder where she's at. Like, I tried to call here, she's not there, but automatically she's missing.
She's missing.
Yeah.
Whereas it could be, okay, maybe she went to Amy's house, the sister. Maybe she ran to the gas station real quick for something. It was actually, she wouldn't have went anywhere because everything she owned was still there. So her purse, her car keys, her car, they were all still there at the house. So I guess that kind of narrows down a little bit who she would be most comfortable with going somewhere with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they did have a press conference shortly after the search was launched, and they wanted it to be known that this was very much out of character for Laci to do anything like this, that she was a very level-headed person that never acted like this, that never had any incidents like this. There was no suspicion of her possibly, her family made it seem like there was no suspicion of her just leaving. There was no chance of her going to Mexico for whatever people go to Mexico for. I don't know what I would travel to Mexico for.
Ooh, no thanks.
El Dia de los Muertos. That looks really cool.
That might be cool.
I've been watching a lot of Coco. I would definitely check that out. And obviously from the start, wham bam, right off the get-go, our number one suspect is none other than Scott Suck Me Peterson.
Makes sense. I understand that.
And at this point, they don't have a lot to go off of as far as him being the suspect, and they don't do a very good job of building the evidence in a manner that would portray him as being completely guilty of making his wife go away. Because at this point, she's not, no one knows if she's dead or not. The assumption is she's just missing. And he has the alibis to go off of. He's like, I was here at this time. But not only did he have the timestamps from the emails and the computer work he did at his warehouse, he also had timestamps on the receipts that he used at the marina when he went fishing. So there was no dead time in between the warehouse and the marina. He went straight from the warehouse to the marina, and the police could completely nail that down because he had concrete evidence with the receipts and the timestamps.
Do we know the distance from the marina to his place?
I think it was I want to say it was a longer drive. It wasn't a short drive, whether it was like an hour or 2 hours. I know it wasn't, it was a pretty substantial drive.
Okay.
Now, and I'm very familiar with this. There's certain situations that law enforcement will do. They will do a series of tests on people that they think to be a suspect right off the rip.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this to kind of gauge their reactions. Okay. And in this situation, Scott, instead of meeting the police, which this makes sense to me, he met them at the park where she was walking the dog. So he didn't meet them at the house. The police, and this was one of their tests to try and gauge his reaction, the police suggested going back to his house to kind of look around. And it doesn't say that he was completely against that, but he obviously had a reaction that led them to believe right off the get-go, like, hey, this is our guy. And even the head detective on this, he spoke about it, and you can watch the video on YouTube, and he says, the guys and I talked after we said we were going to go to his house, and we all said, like, hey, there's something not fucking right about this guy. And even when you watch the interviews with him talking to Diane Sawyer and all these different media types that he talks to, Scott Peterson, that is, because he did his rounds. He's just so unbelievable. And I don't mean like unbelievable, like, wow. I mean unbelievable, like, hey, I don't fucking buy that shit at all.
Yeah, like a scumbag.
Yeah, that guy's a goddamn cornball.
He did sell poop. Hey-o.
Yeah, got a little shit salesman. In the first night of questioning, okay, right off the get-go, he declined a polygraph test. And he declined a polygraph test through the entire length of this investigation. My thing with polygraph tests, man, and we've talked about this before, they're bullshit, okay?
Yep.
I don't think you can hinge an entire investigation. I don't even think it should be a tool.
I think in this point though, they probably held more weight than they do now.
Yes.
I think granted it was, it wasn't that long ago, but I think now I don't even know if do they even admit those to court anymore?
No, I don't think so.
I didn't think so.
There's another thing they do now called voice stress analysis. I don't know much about that at all, but I know that's another alternative to polygraph tests. But it's so okay. There's certain medical conditions that people have that make their bodies operate in a different manner than the person standing next to them. Okay, so
everybody's different with those things.
You can't chain someone up to a fucking machine and read their goddamn minds, and that's essentially what you're trying to do with a polygraph test.
Yeah.
I remember when I took a polygraph test a long time ago, they said, have you ever let your family, and I swear to God, this is the truth. They said, have you ever let the family dog lick peanut butter off your testicles? And when I took this test, I was only 17. I just sat there like, man, I fucking did, but do I need to tell this fucking guy that I did this? How is this going to gauge whether I'm fit for this job or not? But I did hesitate when he asked me that. I sat there like, this motherfucker really just asked me if I let the dog lick, which I hadn't, obviously. And I took a few seconds to answer, but then 5 minutes later, he circled back. He's like, I really can't get over the fact of how long it took you to answer whether you let the dog lick peanut butter off your genitals. And I just fucking laugh because I'm the delicious Nickalicious, okay? And this motherfucker's like throwing barbs at me. Why are you fucking what's so fucking funny here? This is not funny. You abused that animal. And at this point, I'm thinking, I wonder how hard I got to hit this motherfucker to knock him out. He was big.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it.
My guy was an older dude when I had to take mine, so I could have taken him.
Right.
But yeah, kind of the same thing with me. Like it was just an awkward and uncomfortable question.
It is.
And so my body just like tensed up, and I was just like, ooh, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, and they say ways to beat a polygraph test. You can clench your butthole together really tight. Like so they have the control questions.
Right, yeah.
They say, is your name Rob? And you say, yes. That's a question they know you can't lie to.
Mm-hmm.
So then they compare that to all the other questions. And then they say, Rob, have you ever shot heroin between your toes? And you say, no. And your levels look the same as when they said, hey, Rob, have you ever, is Rob your name? And they say, okay, he's not lying. And the levels are the same. But they make you lie in the beginning of the test to gauge how your lies look like on the computer. And I've also heard the tack in the shoe tactic, where every time
you step down on it,
every time you tell the truth, you step on it. So then it makes everything in your body spike. No pun intended. Step on a tack. And then whenever you get a question you're going to lie about, they're like, have you ever masturbated with, mayonnaise before? And you're like, no. And you really have. So then
who hasn't?
Right. But you stepped on the tack for your yes questions, your truthful questions. Your levels are going to look the same. And that's just what we do at Brohio. We tell you how to beat polygraph tests, how to beat the system, how to be scumbags. The police did note Scott's strange behavior, such as he couldn't remember the kind of bait he used when he supposedly went fishing that morning.
My wife's finger.
Jesus Christ. Or what he prioritized during the investigation. Now, when they say that part, there was a lot about the prioritizing. There were certain things about this investigation. They say he was always disconnected, and he never fucking cared about what was going on with the disappearance of his wife. Now, to double back to the fish thing, I'm not an avid fisherman, but I go fishing, a couple times a year with my dad. We can go back to when I was 4, 5 years old, and you can say, hey, Nick, when you went fishing here, what were you fishing for? And I can say, I was fishing for catfish there. You never, anyone, if you fish enough to have a fishing boat.
That's what I was going to say, especially a guy with a fishing boat. He knows what he's going out there for.
And you fish enough that you want to go fishing on Christmas Eve, you're going to know what your fucking bait was, and you're going to know what you were fishing for. Yep. Undoubtedly.
Absolutely.
And Scott, old Scotty boy, he had no idea. He had no interest in answering that question to the police. And the police did say his major concern was not Laci. One detective told People magazine in 2005 his major concerns were his door hitting his other car door in the driveway, or me taking a picture of his boat in a shop, or getting a receipt for the pink slipper and sunglasses the tracking dog people used for Laci's scent. So his mind was a million other places, and he's like, no, don't step in the fucking flowers. Don't, be careful around my car. If my wife is missing, okay, and she's presumed, I would have to presume in a situation like this, the worst, you're not going to be worried about I call these the small things.
If you actually gave a shit about that person.
Exactly.
He could just not have cared and just checked out.
Really liked his fucking cars.
Yeah. And really liked his whores.
Yes, which he did have whores.
Maybe he saw it as an easy out.
Yeah.
Cheaper than a divorce.
Oh, God.
But hey, I don't know.
In the end, it was not.
Yeah, definitely not.
Detectives also gave Scott Peterson another test on the day after Christmas when they executed a search warrant at his home. Once again, Scott was hesitant to cooperate with the police in ways that might prove his innocence, like taking a polygraph test, but he seemed more concerned with protecting himself. It was more strange behavior from a man who supposedly had nothing to hide. And it was about this point that the national media grabbed this thing and said, whew, all right, we got a beautiful young lady in California who's pregnant with a little boy. She is missing, and the husband is completely disconnected. He is the biggest shit stain in the entire world. We
have a missing pregnant white woman.
Yes, which is unfortunate. People go
sound the alarms.
Yeah, people go missing every day in America, and it doesn't get publicity. The media. They had such a presence that they never left the outside of Scott's house, and eventually he had to move. Scott did. He moved to San Diego. They say he moved to San Diego to kind of, I guess, move himself away from the situation.
Right.
But there's other avenues here that we're gonna go down. Then the lawyers, they started using the media to their advantage. They would leak certain things. The defense attorney, the attorneys for Scott, they leaked that this was possibly a murder performed by a satanic cult. And the name of this cult, or the name of this incident, was the Salida Massacre, where 4 people were murdered by a satanic cult. And this happened in the 1980s in that area. And the media pushed this around as, okay, she was sacrificed as part of this cult. This cult hasn't been around for, 10 or 20 years, but we think that they're probably the ones at fault here. There's also another incident where there was possibly some burglars across the street. I'll touch on that later. The satanic cult thing, that doesn't make any sense to me at all, but it got feet. And there were many people in the public that said, hey, you know what? They're right. This is completely lines up with these cult murders. I think Scott is kind of getting the raw end of the deal here. She was probably murdered by the people in this satanic cult.
And this is when things get, like, not necessarily with this case, but in general, when like the media gets a hold of all these things and they, keep reporting it. And then you get, all this information gets put in the heads of the people who are potentially going to be the jurors.
Right.
So you're already going to have preconceived notions going into it.
In a situation like this, you can never have the perfect juror. I'm sorry.
Right.
Because there is no way to be complete. I guess in
There's
this
stories,
maybe in this year, in 2003, you could get a 55-year-old man who's never been on the internet, who works, sun up to sundown every day, comes home and says, fuck the TV, I'm going to bed. And he honestly knows nothing about the case.
Yeah. Maybe.
He
may know that there's something going on, but maybe not the details.
Yeah.
Which, hopefully you would get a whole jury full of those people, but
never happens.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
And that's one thing that when they're picking the jury, it doesn't. They know what they have. They know what they have to say in order to get seated, and they know what they have to say if they want to go home. So, if there's someone that has an interest, like Rob, 28 years old, Modesto, California, and he's like been watching this trial, and he's like, God, this guy fucking gave me a wedgie and fingered my fucking mom 12 years ago. I am out for fucking blood right here. So Rob goes and does his jury interview and says, no, I've never heard of this man. I've never heard of this case before. And lo and behold, he gets seated. That's one person that you're absolutely positively not going to have the opportunity to sway one way or the other. And that's kind of, I know in certain instances, there is a job where there are background checks done on these people to assure the quality that they are receiving for the trial. All right, Rob Dog, this is where it gets real sticky.
All right, lay the sticky on me.
Why? Wait till we turn off these fucking microphones, Jack. Enter the mistress. All right, one Amber Fry. On December 31st, they had a vigil for Laci and Connor. Scott could be seen smiling and laughing throughout the vigil. Now, one person that grabbed onto this thing was one Nancy Grace. And if I ever fucking commit a crime, like, for as much I fucking hate her, I think she's annoying.
Stand her.
I have observed her produce some good content at times, but Jesus, fuck, get a goddamn grip. I can't stand her.
Same.
But if I ever, if one day the police roll up and I find a dead body and the police get there the same time I find it and they're like, oh, Nick, you fucking killed that guy. Please keep Nancy Grace as far away from my shit as possible, because she is fucking coming for blood, buddy.
She really is.
She's a goddamn bloodhound. But she grabbed onto this thing. So, like we said before, that's another, in that day and age, this is when cable TV and internet, everything's just fucking huge, and you can't turn anywhere without hearing certain things, and you have people listening to Nancy Grace every night. She is the ultimate person of swaying someone one way or the other. So they're having this vigil, and the pictures are taken of Scott kind of smirking and laughing throughout the vigil. So let's go backwards to November of 2002. This is about a month before the alleged,
when Laci disappeared.
Right.
Yeah.
Scott was introduced to Amber Fry, a massage therapist and a single mother. They immediately began a romantic relationship. In December, there was a photo taken of the both of them at a holiday party where they were seen fucking, they were necking on each other. They were sucking on their nipples and shit. And because that's what the kids did back then. They didn't snort Tide Pods. They fucking licked each other's nipples.
Hey, why don't you slide out a nipple for me, baby?
Hey, let me see them Tic Tacs real quick. Cemetery Terry cruising through the party right here. He trying to suck on somebody's nipples. Just be careful when you step outside, because Cemetery Terry, he got some of them booby traps out there in the front yard. Cemetery Terry do them booby traps. They shoot out. I got them old dead nipples. They shoot out. They hit you in the mouth and shit. I don't even clean them nipples off before I put them in the booby traps. They come and get you. You know what I'm saying? I think we've been having a lot of requests for Cemetery Terry, so
he needs his own episode.
He does. Good guy.
He is really good. He takes good care of the graves there.
Well, like we said before, they're fucking sucking on each other's nipples, necking, making out. Now, when he met poor Amber, he told Amber that he was indeed a grieving widower. But the thing about being a grieving widower is he was not a grieving widower at that point in time yet, because Laci was still alive. And even when he told her he was a grieving widower, she wasn't missing yet, Rob Dog. on December 30th, Amber Fry, the mistress, she saw a newspaper article and was immediately floored. Why was she floored? Because she saw Scott Peterson on the front page being accused of possibly murdering his wife. Now, she said, this fucking cocksucker. She went straight to the police and said, hey, I know this guy.
He was licking on my nipples yesterday.
He ate my ass. No, they didn't eat ass back. It was our crowd that started the ass eating thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And I did read some studies that eating ass can possibly cause cancer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And I'll get cancer from something else anyways.
Right,
so,
exactly. That monster you're drinking right there, that'll give you ass cancer for sure.
Yeah.
She goes to the police. She said, hey, I know him. I'm in a fucking relationship with him right now. He told me that his wife was dead a month ago. Now, the grimiest thing about all of this is Scott went to a shit convention. It was an agriculture convention. He's trying to learn from other shit salesmen.
Yeah, comparing his poop to other people.
Yeah, and he meets a chick there at this convention, and they kind of hit it off, and they're fucking a little bit, okay? And he tells this girl that he might as well have a badge that says, I'm a horny bastard, or something along those lines.
Okay.
Horniest guy in the room. This girl likes him. She's kind of into him, but she says, you know what? As much as I like this guy, I have a chick for him that is completely perfect. And she introduced him to Amber Fry.
Okay.
After I guess maybe he was so good with his penis that he broke her vagina. I've heard people say that they're like, I'm going to knock the bottom out of it. I'm like, what do you mean by that? How hard do you have to do it to knock the bottom out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe Scott knocked the bottom out of that one. She said, listen, you broke mine. I got another one for you. Because he was single. To them, he was just some fancy traveling salesman, which is what they all fucking do. I think that's definitely a lifestyle in that business for most.
Yeah, he's just a horny shit salesman.
Yeah. She called the tip line. Amber did. She cooperated with authorities immediately. She began recording hundreds and hundreds of hours of phone calls because during this entire incident, he was still maintaining contact with her. And during the vigil, okay, this is fucking awesome. During the vigil for Connor and Laci, he cut away for a moment. And when he left, it was to make a phone call to Amber. And what did he do? He called Amber. And he told Amber, he's like, sorry, I can't be with you right now. I'm with some friends, and we are celebrating the new year in Paris, France. So this motherfucker said he was all the way in France for New Year's, when actually he was at the candlelight vigil for his presumably dead wife and unborn son.
What a scumbag.
Or maybe an innocent scumbag
okay,
that was still just trying to keep his dick wet.
Hey,
I'm not making excuses for the guy.
A scumbag nonetheless.
Yeah, scumbag nonetheless.
Whether he's innocent or guilty, he's still a scumbag.
He's not doing a very good job of making himself look like he's innocent. And you can go online. There, like I said, there's hundreds of hours of recorded phone calls, and they're all on YouTube. And she calls him, and she just fucking gives him. And she tells him, she's like, I know, I see you in the news. Why weren't you forthcoming about all this? And he's just being a goddamn wiener about it. He's like, for reasons I cannot say right now, I just can't tell you, but I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And he just wasn't slowing down, man. He was keeping after it. He was like a fucking a dog with a red rocket hanging out. He smells the in heat one, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He's out there running around just trying to get it. I'm not condoning it.
Nah.
I'm just telling you what the guy did. And at this point, the Scott had no idea that the police knew he was having an affair. Also, the Rokas had no idea about the affair. Like her parents, they weren't aware of the affair at all. He did go on, and when it all made okay, I'm skipping ahead here. And then January 2003, police found, this is just a couple months later, police found out that the National Enquirer had the pictures from the party of them sucking on each other's nipples and necking. Okay. So they said, we got to fucking do something about this. We don't want him to get ahead of us. Right. So on January 24th, they send Amber Fry in front of the microphone, the mistress of Scott Peterson. They send her to a press conference and she reveals herself. She claimed that she didn't know that he was married. And this is quote, okay, first of all, I met Scott Peterson November 20th of 2002. I was introduced to him. I was told he was unmarried. Scott told me he was not married. We did have a romantic relationship. When I discovered he was involved in the Laci Peterson disappearance case, I immediately contacted the Modesto Police Department. Although I could have sold the photos of Scott and I to tabloids, I knew this was not the right thing to do for fear of jeopardizing the case or the police investigation. I will not comment further. I am very sorry for Laci's family and the pain that this has caused them, and I pray for her safe return as well. I would appreciate to my friends and acquaintances to refrain from talking about me to the media for profit or recognition. I am a single mother of a 23-month-old child, and I ask you to respect my privacy. Thank you. And guess who I found on Instagram, Rob?
Who did you find?
Amber Fry.
How did that go?
And I said, Amber, dear Amber, please come on the Brohio podcast show as we are talking about the Scott Peterson murder trial. Not expecting her to write us back. Within seconds, I get the check mark that says the thing that says she read.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get the fucking typing bubbles, Rob. I'm sitting there hanging on edge. And she writes me back.
This is like one of the farthest we've gotten trying to get a hold of somebody.
Oh my God. Oh my God. She's going to fuck me. Great. And I get the email back. Thank you, but I have to decline at this time. And I said, you fucking cunt. No. I said, thank you for your time. I think that's all I said. Thank you for the quick response and thank you for your time.
At least she responded, though. That's awesome. Thank you.
And it looks like she's deeply involved with Jesus Christ now. And I support the fact that she's trying to distance herself from this because obviously from the very get-go, she made it abundantly clear that she did not want to and would not get rich off of this. She didn't go to the tabloids. She didn't do all these fucking shiesty interviews for money.
Yeah, do a book deal and all that good stuff.
She went right to the police. She said, hey, this is what's going on. And it holds true to this day because I put in there.
Well, good for her.
I said, hey, we have a few people that listen to us every week. We would be happy with you plugging whatever business endeavors you have going on. She wasn't interested. So another fucking strike for us, Rob. Whatever.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you, though.
All right, so you know exactly what this did at this point, Rob. This turned the Rokas, Laci's mom and dad and sister, this completely turned them against the fucking cum-stained Scott Peterson.
Right.
He did the interview with Diane Sawyer. He told the police, when he did the interview with Diane, he said that the police, he told the police about the affair. Now, during this Diane Sawyer interview, he smiles the entire fucking interview. Just a nasty, like,
just cocky smile,
murderer smirk the entire interview. He also said Laci was okay with the affair that he had.
Okay.
Never in the entire history of the world.
Yeah.
But the most damning thing here for me, during the interview, Laci is still missing at this point and not dead. He referred to her in a past tense. He said, she was so happy. She was this. She was that. She referred to her in the past tense the entire.
So yeah, he's referring to her as if he already knows that she's dead.
Which he probably fucking did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we do have to keep pausing here. I'm on the brink of bronchitis death. So another interesting tidbit, the trail had not even gone fucking remotely cold yet. Her footprints were still hot on the ground, okay? That night, or the preceding, the next night, I'm not exactly sure, but Almost immediately after she went missing, he's home alone. He started renting porn on the cable provider.
Okay.
For one, you can get fucking all the free porn you want at Pornhub.com, Xhamster, XNXX.com, lots of places.
Reddit.
I'm
sure all this stuff wasn't around this time, but still.
BroHioPodcast.com. We've updated our website.
Yep.
We also have a YouTube channel at BroHio Podcast that we're going to start doing more stuff on. Keep sending us your snaps, Snapchat. I don't know where I'm going with this.
I have no idea.
But he's fucking ordering cable porn. That's the worst porn. I would feel guilty for ordering that porn, Rob.
Yeah.
You can go to those nasty stores and buy them for $5. Mm-hmm. Sorry, excuse me. So if your wife is missing, and the first, and he even says during the Diane Sawyer thing, he said, she asks, do you think your wife is dead? And he says, at night the thought creeps in. So at night when you're ordering porn, you're jerking off thinking about, yeah, she might be fucking dead. So let's order some really nasty shit.
She's not going to yell at me about the bill this month.
And the thing about this is that was what the thought process was. She was an ultra conservative girl.
Mm-hmm.
She had values and morals, and porn, there was no room.
Yeah.
She was not wild in the sack.
Yeah, big no there.
She was vanilla. She said no porn.
Vanilla.
No fake dicks. None of that Cincinnati cream pie stuff. No Alaskan pipelines. Nothing like that. We're not fucking doing it.
No hot legging.
If you've ever heard of hot legging before, you can write us at our Gmail, BroHioPodcast@gmail.com.
If you've ever hot legged, let us know.
If you've ever tried it, just let us know.
Yeah.
Now, they ended up using sonars and boats on January 5th and recovered nothing from the area where he said he was fishing, which was near Berkeley Marina. And that's not necessarily a super feat to say, hey, we didn't find anything, but nonetheless, that's what fucking happened there.
Yeah.
All right, now flash forward to April of 2003. Two local people were walking their dog. They were strolling along the shores of the San Francisco Bay. This was near Richmond Point Isabel Regional Shoreline Park, north of Berkeley. They found a nearly full-term fetus that did end up being Connor. When the baby was discovered, he did have nylon tape around his neck. A day later, Laci's body washed ashore as well, not far from that location. This was said, this is possibly a result of coffin birth. And I said, what in the blue fuck is coffin birth? And that's where the gases that build up in your body, they force the baby out post-mortem. And I'm reading about this shit, and I'm like, I don't ever want to know about this ever again. This is fucking horrible.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
Now, this shit-stained Scott, he'd been living in San Diego, allegedly to avoid the media frenzy. What he was really doing in San Diego, which is very close to the Mexican border, at this point, after finding the bodies and confirming the identities of the bodies, and really no evidence beyond that, besides the fact that he was shifty, having an affair, and all these various shady things, but they didn't have any concrete evidence linking him to the murders of either one of them. And we did find out that the baby, I guess there was just the way her body decomposed, it allowed the baby to come out of the top of her rib cage. I know that's fucking horrible, but that's how the baby wasn't removed from her by someone. It was the natural process of the body breaking down, unfortunately. And when the police said, okay, we have enough evidence to arrest this guy for the murder, they knew where he was at in San Diego because they put a tracker on his vehicle. He said he was in the process of meeting his father and his brother for a round of golf. But when they pulled him over, He had completely dyed his hair blonde. He had black hair to start with, like dark brown black hair. Yeah. He had everything to live off of in his car, including clothes, just all kinds of crazy things. He had nearly $15,000 in cash. He had 12 Viagra tablets.
Of course.
Because you a weak-ass bitch and you can't get your dick up by your motherfuckers. Still. And he's up in San Quentin right now. If you're listening, Scott, fucking kill yourself.
Fuck you.
Climb to the top of that bedroom. That's jail cell. Tie a blanket around your neck and take the swing. Take that final swing. They found survival gear, camping equipment, several changes of clothes, 4 cell phones. Whew. They also found 2 driver's licenses, one belonging to him and one belonging to his brother, Lee Peterson. His father explained that Scott had used his brother's license that day, the day before, to get a San Diego resident discount at the golf course, and that Scott had been living out of his car because of the media attention.
Sounds to me as well, with all the things he has, that he's got all that stuff in there just in case he may need to get away.
Well, that being said, and I'm sorry about the coughs, I'm really fucking ill right now.
I forgive you.
He's in San Diego, which is just minutes from the Mexican border.
Yeah.
Not far at all. You just a hop, skip, and a leap, and you're there in Tijuana snorting jalapeno fucking juice out of some, nice Latino's asshole. Because that's what they do in Tijuana.
I think so.
That and donkey shows, which...
And bad surgery.
Yeah. I'm here to get my dick removed. I want to give it to my friend Rob as a statue. Now, so all this crazy shit. Then on April 21st, 2003, Scott was arraigned in a Superior Court before Judge Nancy Ashley. He was charged with 2 felony counts of murder with premeditation and special circumstances. He pled not guilty. Judge Al Girolami of the same county moved his trial to San Mateo County because so many people, I think this Stanislaus County, had made up their minds about Peterson's guilt. His trial began on June 1st of 2004. On November 12th of 2004, Scott Peterson was convicted of first-degree murder for Laci's death and second-degree murder for Connor's death. Judge Alfred DeLucci sentenced Scott to death, calling the murder of Laci cruel, uncaring, heartless, and callous. And I'm going to let Rob tell you about the work notes of... These are... We have some alternate theories here.
All right.
Of why Scott might possibly... We've built him up as a monster to this point. But there's some alternate theories of him possibly being innocent.
Okay. All right, so we'll start here. So in Graybill's work notes... Now, he claims...
And Graybill, sorry.
There you go.
Graybill is the postal carrier that worked the route where the Petersons were.
Okay.
So he was the guy carrying the mail that day.
The friendly neighborhood mailman.
Very familiar with the neighborhood and very familiar with the daily workings of the neighborhood.
Right. He claims that the family dog, which, as you remember, named Mackenzie, did not bark at him when he delivered their mail. And this was between 10:35 and 10:50. So, usually they're going to have a steady time they're going to be running. So now by the account of a Graybill, a defense witness, it diverges from that of prosecution witness Karen Service regarding Mackenzie's whereabouts.
Service was the neighbor that found the dog.
Yes, Service was the neighbor.
And if he delivered the mail between 10:35 and 10:50 a.m., and the dog didn't bark, that means the dog is gone, which means that Service didn't bring the dog back at 10:18 like she said. And if the dog was gone, the only way the dog could be gone is if somebody was walking the dog.
Yeah, and this leads to different conclusions of when exactly Laci was killed. Now, going back to Service, testified that she found Mackenzie wandering around the neighborhood at around 10:18 a.m., and this is on the day of her death, and she returned the dog to the Petersons. I think we spoke about that a little bit, to their fenced yard. Now, the prosecution says that this indicates that Laci was killed before 10:18. So the defense now contends that Laci walked Mackenzie after Service returned the dog to the yard. This indicates that she was alive between 10:35 and 10:50 a.m. while the mail carrier was on their street. That defense attorneys say that Scott was logged into his work computer during this time, meaning that he could not have killed her. So this kind of moves this is where you said earlier about how the times are going to come into play. This, if this pushes it back, then obviously him being logged into his computer at that time, there's no way he could have did it.
Unless there's just a story that unfolded that, maybe he coaxed her into going fishing with him and then told everyone else something else, which obviously that wouldn't be hard for him. He did a good job of covering his tracks. And it's not completely crazy for him to think up all of this in his planning process to murder his wife.
Yeah. Now, although the handwritten notes were not presented at trial, Graybill testified in Scott's 2004 trial, and his testimony did not sway jurors who convicted him of first-degree murder, a decision that Scott says staggered him.
Yeah, so they didn't find... They didn't use Graybill shit in court. Now, in other alternate theories... And this is my thing here. Police found no blood or other physical evidence at the Peterson home, Scott's warehouse, or in the boat that he allegedly used to get rid of her body. The prosecution tried to reenact dumping the body. The defense, I think. They said there was no physically possible way that a human could throw a 150-pound human out of the boat without the boat capsizing.
Mm-hmm.
I beg to differ. He's not a big guy. He's a smaller guy. And for him to pick up a pregnant woman up above his head and not cause this boat to fucking flip, because it was just a little tiny John boat. It wasn't, when you think of a fishing boat in California, you think of a big boat.
Yeah.
This boat he was using was like a little 8 or 10 foot John boat. It was something really small. But they found no blood or physical evidence at all. And he was convicted to death, sentenced to death with no physical evidence, which is absolutely kind of, for him to get sentenced to death in California, that's kind of crazy for me.
Yeah, you would think at least in the boat there would be blood, right, if that is in fact what he did, was just dump her into the bay.
Right. Peterson told the police that he spent the day fishing near Berkeley Marina, and that's exactly where Laci's body and her fetus were found separately 3 months later. An impossible coincidence, prosecutors claimed, but Peterson's alibi was common knowledge. If someone else killed Laci, the docuseries, there was a docuseries on A&E that covered all this. They would have known just where to dispose of her remains in order to evade suspicion by framing Peterson. So he never claimed he was framed. He just claimed that he didn't fucking do it.
Yeah. And of course, just like that says, if somebody already had, if it was prior knowledge to everybody that that's where, they knew that's where he was at, that's the perfect place to dump it.
And we're not trying to support Scott Peterson's cause. We just like to give you all the facts here. And then there are over 24 neighborhood witnesses who reported seeing a pregnant woman who looked like Laci walking a dog later that morning after the prosecution claimed she was already dead. Now, the police dismissed these Laci sightings as not being credible, with little, if any, follow-up, which is kind of, they kind of make it go hand in hand with the postman's statements. They just kind of, discard it and don't use it in court. It's never brought up. I think is a little unfair for Scott as far as getting, in America, you get a chance, you get a trial to try and prove your innocence. But
yeah, especially if they're not going back and, going back over those, because looking at this next one,
he's really hung up on this.
The postal worker. Oh
no. I'm sorry to skip ahead there, but the next one that Scott is still to this day hung up on, because he did in that A&E docuseries, they talked to him from death row, that's where he's currently at still, is death row. Evidence suggests that Laci, upon returning from her walk, confronted shady characters burglarizing the house across the street from the Petersons' home, and that this incident started a chain of events that would most likely lead to her murder. And that obviously is just the tip of the iceberg there. In that docuseries there, he calls and he says the fucking police never looked in to the burglary across the street. And when I was doing my research, I didn't catch on to this burglary stuff until the very end. There's just not a lot about it, but it did happen. So, I mean, slap your fucking head and put this and at least try and look into it.
Yeah, it's real weird. And the fact that, you know, the postman said that, you know, looking back over here, that it was a very common thing that Mackenzie would bark whenever he was delivering his mail.
Every day.
Every single day. And on that day, Mackenzie wasn't barking, which means, you know, that the dog's out. And there's sightings in the neighborhood of a pregnant woman walking the dog right at that time, which means that he couldn't have done it if that was, you know, if that was accurate.
And this could have just all been, everything we're talking about right now could be completely discarded if
the times could be different.
The lady that found the dog said, okay, it wasn't 10:18. It was more like 11:52 or whatever.
Right.
Or 10:52. So I'm going to ask you, Rob, after hearing all the facts, what do you think happened here?
I say they made the right decision.
You do?
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that he probably did it. I'm not losing any sleep over him being in there over it. There's not enough doubt. I mean, there is some suspicious circumstances, but just like you just stated, times could be wrong. There's no physical proof of exactly what time these things happened. Now, if there was proof ever brought forward of, you know, this happened at this time, I don't know how they would do that. And obviously he would be, you know, at work at that time.
It's still in appeals now. He may still get another. It was just, I read it a few weeks ago. He may still get yet another trial here.
Right.
So.
Well, we'll see what happens from there. But as of right now, I say that, you know, the decision that was made was the right one.
If you ask me, fucking guilty.
Yeah.
Kill his fucking dumbass. Even if he didn't kill her, he would have killed her fucking spirit by committing these affairs while she's pregnant. That's like the worst thing you can do to your spouse, is to, obviously she's carrying your child, you know. Fuck, just give her the respect that a woman deserves. Be truthful, be faithful.
It's just crazy.
Not this guy. Not Scott Peterson. And he sounds like a fucking douchebag, too, whenever I listen to the interviews and stuff. He's such a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, he just got that cocky air to him.
I am a douchebag, but this guy, Rob, is a douche nozzle. He's a sour douche nozzle.
He's the Thanos of douches.
He is the douchebag that got used on the yeast infection vagina. The worst.
The worst.
Now, next week, we don't tell you what we're covering next week.
Hell
anymore,
no.
Because we have other podcasts that steal our ideas, steal our views, steal our jokes, steal our perspectives on the universe, man.
Our personas.
Our
characters.
My name's Bill Wilkins, and I'm 73 years old, and I died my own shit.
How many podcasts are you loyal to, Mr. Wilkins?
I've never listened to a fucking podcast in my entire life.
How many do you visit? Let's go there.
Is this what this place is?
Yeah. We try our best here.
I'll tell you where I do like to visit.
Okay.
I like to go down to the pub.
Yep.
And then I walk in there and I take a stroll around.
Okay. What do you see?
I see these big nasty swamp donkeys having their fish and chips up at the bar. And I walk by and I give them a sniff on the back of their neck. And whichever swamp donkey smells like a big pile of turtle shit, like a aquarium full of dead frogs, that's the one that Bill Wilkins takes home.
Lucky lady.
And then we get in the shower. And I fuck her in the ass until she shits in my bathtub.
You take her to your house?
I don't have a house. It's my mother's house. I'm
Okay, so
73 years old. I died my own shit.
So she shits in your mom's tub.
And then I waffle stomp it. And I make that swamp donkey get out of my house.
Yeah, you don't want them swamp donkeys hanging around.
What a fucking asshole. Why does he always use my microphone? That's
I know.
my thing.
How does it smell right now? Take a whiff.
Yeah, it smells like fucking like pork rinds and Mountain Dew. He's a party animal.
Oh, Billy.
He's a party goat. Thanks for listening to the Brohio Podcast Show. I'm the Delicious McDelicious.
And I am the Rob of Dogs.
Love you so much.
Thank you guys. We'll catch you next week.